There are a number of common mistakes in macro photography that newcomers will make. And don't feel like you are the only one that makes the mistakes I mentioned, because I've also made all these mistakes myself over the years. But the good thing is that these problems I mentioned are pretty easy to fix once identified. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 common macro photography mistakes and ways you can fix them. The first big mistake is a bad composition or a boring angle. The most important aspect of a good macro image is a good composition. How you frame your subject and the angle you shoot from should be the main priority if your goal is to take the best shot possible, as composition can significantly impact the photo's quality. Try to avoid boring composition styles like the photos I'm showing right now, because compositions like these rarely make for interesting photos. All of these photos were from 8 years ago when I first got into photography as a whole. I had no idea what composition in photography even was at the time. I just went out and took shots with no thought on how I should take them. And that way of shooting was fun for a while, since macro photography was brand new to me. But over time, I slowly started to improve, and the first thing that improved was how I composed my shots. And in this section, I'm going to give you some tips on how to improve your compositions for better macro shots. The first technique I will mention is the POV angle, which means shooting from the same vantage point as the subject. This composition style highlights the detailed beauty of the subject up close. It can reveal hidden details that are not visible to the naked eye, offering viewers a completely different perspective on the tiny macro subjects. Another consideration is how to frame the elements within the scene. The rule of thirds offers a guideline for maintaining balance by placing subjects in the left or right third of an image, leaving the other 2/3 more open. That extra space in an image is called negative space, and the appropriate use of it can contribute to a balanced image by providing additional space in the direction the subject's eyes are looking, allowing the image to have a sense of openness. The last thing to pay attention to is if there are any leading lines. Leading lines within your frame, such as the curve of a leaf, the stem of a flower, or even a gentle arc of a branch, can guide the viewer's eye directly to your subject. These natural elements, when positioned thoughtfully, add visual interest and depth while emphasizing the focal point of your image. Seek out elements in your scene that can act as visual pathways. Sometimes a subtle diagonal or a curved edge can transform the entire composition. Experimentation with different composition styles is advised to determine what works best for you. Every photo does not have to follow a specific guideline, as breaking the rules can sometimes yield effective results. However, thoughtful consideration of composition remains important in creating great macro photos that stand out. The second big mistake is a distracting or a cluttered background. It can sometimes be easy to get caught up in the moment and forget about everything else except for the subject you are trying to photograph. But the backgrounds play a huge role in macro photography. A messy background with distracting elements can pull the eye away from the main subject, and that can completely ruin a photo. There are several ways to achieve clean and undistracting backgrounds that I will cover in this section. Once you find a subject you want to photograph, get in the habit of looking at the whole frame when looking through your viewfinder or LCD screen. Examine the whole frame and be aware of what is happening in the background. Giving yourself more time to observe the scene is essential for learning to see and control all the variables needed to create great images. Your aperture is crucial for controlling background depth of field. A wider aperture results in less depth of field and smoother backgrounds, while a narrower aperture increases the depth of field, bringing both the subject and background elements into focus. Besides aperture, depth of field is also influenced by the distance to the background and the magnification used. As magnification increases, the background becomes smoother due to the reduction in depth of field at those magnifications. When taking a full body shot of an insect at lower magnification and close to the background, Using a wider aperture helps achieve good separation between the subject and the background. The greater the distance between your subject and the background, the higher the likelihood of achieving a smooth background. However, depending on the lighting conditions and the use of a flash, your photographs will more than likely have a darker background. A good example would be if you are capturing an image in a shaded area with good separation between your subject and the background. Using a flash will likely result in a darker background. Other ways to achieve better backgrounds are just simply changing the angle and perspective you are shooting at can create a totally different shot with a completely different background. If that's not an option, you could use some macro background cards or something colorful to place behind your subject while you are shooting. The third big mistake is shooting macro photography without a diffuser. I also made this mistake when I started. At that time, I didn't even know what a diffuser was and didn't know I needed one until I saw other people's photos. Shooting without a diffuser can result in harsh highlights and shadows that detracts from the overall quality of an image. A diffuser softens the light from your flash by spreading it more evenly across the subject, reducing shadows and highlights that are too stark. Without this essential tool, the intricate details and textures of macro subjects can be lost or overwhelmed by uneven lighting. Using diffusers can elevate your photography by creating natural, balanced light that complements your subject. I currently use the AK diffuser, which is easily one of the best diffusers on the market right now. I have a review on this diffuser if you want to learn more about it. I'll leave that on the end screen. If you don't want to spend the extra money on a diffuser, then you could easily make one yourself. I also have 2 DIY tutorial videos where I make simple homemade diffusers. Both of those videos are in my budget macro playlist as well if you are curious. The fourth mistake is shooting with a very narrow aperture. In theory, it should make sense to shoot macro with a narrow aperture since the depth of field is very shallow in this genre. But shooting at narrow apertures of f20 and above does have its downsides. Images shot at say f20 and above may suffer from diffraction, which reduces sharpness and detail, especially in macro photography where clarity is essential. While a greater depth of field might seem like an advantage, the trade-off in overall image quality often makes it less desirable. The sharpest aperture range for most macro lenses is somewhere in the middle, so between f5.6 and f4.13 is where you want to be if you want the sharpest image possible. While the depth of field will be shallower at these apertures, the overall photo quality will be much better than shooting at higher apertures. The way to increase the depth of field in your photos is by focus stacking. Focus stacking is a technique which involves combining multiple images taken at different focus points to create a single photo with a greater depth of field. This approach can help overcome limitations imposed by aperture settings and enhance sharpness across the entire frame, especially useful when capturing intricate subjects like insects or flowers. If you want to learn more about this topic more in depth, then I will leave my focus stacking playlist right here. There are 6 videos that cover this topic extensively. The 5th mistake is relying on autofocus. I was the exact same way when I first started because I simply just didn't know at the time. While autofocus is a valuable tool in many types of photography, it can be a hindrance in macro photography where precision is critical. The shallow depth of field often makes it difficult for the camera to consistently focus on the intended subject, particularly on tiny details such as the eyes of an insect or the fine textures of a flower petal. Manual focus offers greater control and allows photographers to pinpoint exactly where the sharpest focus should be placed, ensuring that even the smallest elements of the subject are crisp and clear. Utilizing techniques like focus peaking or magnified live view can further enhance accuracy when manually focusing, enabling you to achieve results that autofocus might struggle to deliver in such close-up scenarios. To focus when shooting in manual mode, gradually move the camera forward and backwards until the subject is clear in the viewfinder or LCD screen. This technique may take some time to get used to if you are new, so a tripod may be necessary for added stability. If you are new to the genre, then I recommend practicing this technique with inanimate objects before attempting it with live insects outdoors. Me saying this doesn't mean that autofocus is completely useless for macro photography, because it still can be used in certain situations. Autofocus can be beneficial when magnification is not a priority, particularly on larger insects like butterflies and dragonflies. The sixth mistake is a lack of patience. Patience is a fundamental skill in macro photography that often gets overlooked, yet it plays a vital role in achieving exceptional results. Whether it involves waiting for the perfect lighting, repositioning yourself for an optimal angle, or observing a subject's behavior to capture its most striking moment, patience requires a deliberate and mindful approach. This discipline is particularly crucial when photographing live subjects such as insects, where every movement counts and unpredictable behavior can challenge even the most experienced photographers. By having more patience, you not only improve the technical aspects of your shots, but also deepen your connection with the art form, allowing for creativity and refinement to flourish in every frame you capture. Macro photography will often involve waiting for the right moment to capture the image you are hoping for. It can be easy sometimes to lose patience in moments like these when you are waiting for a moment that may or may not even happen. Whether it's observing a butterfly settle on a flower or waiting for the perfect beam of sunlight to illuminate your subject, patience and timing often define the success of your shots. Another thing to consider is that the more you get out and photograph and the more research you do, you will start to get more familiar with the insects and bugs in your area. Observing their behaviors, habitats, and active times can give you an edge in capturing that perfect shot. For instance, some insects are more active during the early morning or late afternoon when the light is softer and the temperatures are cooler. This knowledge allows you to plan your sessions strategically, ensuring your subjects are present and active while also benefiting from favorable lighting conditions. Additionally, as you spend more time outdoors, you will develop an eye for spotting bugs and other interesting subjects. Patterns, textures, and colors that might have seemed mundane before will take on a new importance as you begin to see the world through the lens as a macro photographer. This deeper connection with nature not only improves your photographs, but also fosters a greater appreciation of the tiny world that is mostly unseen by most. The seventh and the last mistake I will mention is not being experimental. In addition to patience, mastering macro photography often means embracing an experimental mindset. By exploring a range of techniques such as varying shutter speeds, adjusting the lighting setup, or trying unconventional focus points, you can uncover unique and striking perspectives. This willingness to experiment not only enhances technical skills but also sparks creativity, allowing for the discovery of fresh approaches that can elevate your work. For most subjects I photograph, I typically experiment with various angles and compositions to determine my preferred style. I do not usually settle with the first good shot I take. If the subject remains stationary and cooperative, I take the opportunity to explore every possible angle, experimenting with lighting, focusing techniques, and background variations to produce a diverse collection of photographs. This process not only helps in identifying the most visually appealing composition, but also builds a deeper understanding of how different techniques influence the final image. Another valuable approach is to study the work of other macro photographers. Observing how others compose their shots, manipulate light, and interact with their subjects can inspire new ideas and strategies. Combining this inspiration with your unique style ensures the growth of your skills while maintaining individuality in your creations. The beauty of macro photography lies in its ability to unveil details invisible to the naked eye. By continually experimenting and refining your techniques, you can unlock the endless possibilities of this art form, turning even the tiniest subjects into captivating works of art. Mastering macro photography is a journey of continuous learning and experimentation where each step brings fresh challenges and discoveries. It's essential to embrace mistakes and opportunities for growth and to remain open to refining your techniques over time. This genre presents unique challenges, and mastering it requires avoiding these common mistakes. The big key areas to focus on include improving composition by experimenting with different angles and framing, ensuring clean backgrounds to avoid distractions, and using diffusers to soften light for better image quality. Patience is crucial when waiting for ideal moments and lighting conditions, while an experimental mindset allows photographers to refine skills and discover new techniques. Overall, I hope this video was helpful for you, and if it was, then consider leaving a like and subscribing for more content like this. I'll catch y'all in the next one.